This week in chapter 6 of Nehemiah, we see that he again faces multiple attempts by his enemies to thwart the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls. Despite the false accusations of his foes and their invitations to meet, which were actually traps, Nehemiah remains steadfast and completes the wall in just 52 days, demonstrating his commitment to and discernment from God throughout the challenges. And now, here's Pastor Todd.
Thank you for joining us for the midweek message. We're studying about the children of Israel as they return from Babylonian captivity. They now have been back about 90 plus years. Nehemiah, who is the cupbearer of the king, has been sent by the king to go, and he's been given tax money, he's been given materials, he's been given authority to go back and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And he gets there and he finds the people and the walls both in shambles, and so he's been trying to bring about a strengthening of the people, an encouragement of the people, and at the same time rebuild the walls. And of course the nations around Israel don't want these walls rebuilt. They are worried that the Israel people or Israelite people will rise up and become a strong nation again. They don't want that. And so they're doing everything they can to keep these walls from being rebuilt, because if they're not rebuilt, the people of Israel really have to depend on the other nations around them. And that's what the other nations are wanting. Nehemiah understands the importance of the walls. He understands the authority that he's been given. And he's been about the task that God has sent him on. And he really believes this is a God-ordained task. And so he is focused on finishing the task. Today we're going to look at Nehemiah chapter 6. We're looking at the way Nehemiah is attacked from without. We've seen attacks from within, but now we're going to see an attack from without, even stronger than before. Early on they were writing things, but now they are openly trying to attack him, even to the point of probably trying to assassinate him. And we're going to look at, what do you do when you're trying to do something great for God and the people around you keep trying to pull you away from that? So Nehemiah chapter 6, let's look at verse 1. Now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall, and that there were no breaks left in it, though at that time I had not hung the doors in the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, Come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono. But they sought to do me harm. So I sent messengers, saying to them, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave and go down to you? But they sent me this message 4 times, and I answered them in the same manner. Now, what we see here is Nehemiah is doing a great work for God. He says it is a great work. He knows that this is what God's called him to do. But the enemy never wants us to succeed. He never wants us to rest. When you're doing what God has called you to do, Satan will do everything he can to try to drive you off course. Sometimes he'll use the people around you. Sometimes he'll use just your own ideas and your own mind. But ultimately, Satan doesn't want you to do anything great for God. And sometimes the people around you, they're really not excited about you doing something great for God either. You would think because it's a God-ordained task that, man, your family and friends are going to fall in there and tell you how great it is and support you and lift you up on their shoulders and run down the street with you. But too often that's not the case. Sometimes our worst critics come from those that we're close to and that are around us. You see, the answer to knowing what to do in a situation like this, where you're performing a great task for God and people around you are trying to stop you, or Satan is coming against you, the answer to how to overcome that is very simple. Don't lose focus from the task. Don't lose focus from what you're doing. If this is what God's called you to do, don't let the enemy distract you by entertaining your thoughts and minds and ideas and relationships with other things. Keep focused on the main thing. It's that old 1980s Steve Covey idea of keep the main thing the main thing. The second thing we see is this: the enemy is the father of lies. If he can't distract you through relationships, he can't distract you in other ways, then he's going to try to do it literally through lying to you. And so here we see these same people trying to lie to Nehemiah to distract him from the work that he's doing. And it's a bold-faced lie, and it's funny because you'd think, man, that's so outrageous, nobody would believe it. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh my goodness, I think I need to reply to that. But Nehemiah shows different. Look at what he does in verse 5. Then Sanballat sent his servant to me as before, the 5th time, with an open letter in his hand. In it was written, "It is reported among the nations," and Geshem says, "that you and the Jews plan to rebel. Therefore, according to these rumors, you are rebuilding the wall that you may be their king. And you have also appointed prophets to proclaim concerning you at Jerusalem, saying, 'There is a king in Judah.' Now these matters will be reported to the king. So come, therefore, and let us consult together." Then I sent to him, saying, "No such things as you say are being done, but you invent them in your own heart. For they are trying to make us afraid, saying, 'Their hands will be weakened in the work, and it will not be done.' Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands." The enemy is the father of lies, and knowing the living truth is the answer to the enemy in the lies that he tells. Making a great response takes time. Going and defending yourself takes time. Anything that takes away from the work that God has called you to do is not what you need to be about. Let God be your defense. Let Him be the one who makes defense on your behalf. You see, the enemy always makes a lie feel important. He makes it seem like, oh my goodness, if others believe that, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to me? And instead of helping us to focus upon what God has called us to do, the key is to seek the one who called you to the task and allow God to go before you. If you are right with God and you are doing what God's called you to do, the enemy is powerless against you. And what's interesting in Nehemiah's life is first they tried letters, but then they tried spies. Now, I know that we think about spies being a modern thing, but there's been spies throughout history. Anywhere you've had a few people together, there's been spies. And so here we see the work of a spy, probably a spy who was going to assassinate Nehemiah, but God gives him the wisdom that he needs to see it. In verse 10, notice what happens. Afterward, I came to the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delaiah, the son of Mehetabel, who was a secret informer. And he said, "Let us meet together in the house of God, within the temple, and let us close the doors of the temple, for they are coming to kill you. Indeed, at night they will come to kill you." And I said, "Should such a man as I flee? And who is there such as I who would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in." Then I perceived that God had not sent him at all, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. For this reason he was hired, that I should be afraid and act that way in sin, so that they might have cause for evil report, that they might reproach me. My God, remember Tobiah and Sanballat according to these their works, and the prophetess Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets who would have made me afraid. So if you'll look at what he does here, Nehemiah leans into his relationship with God through prayer and trust in Him, knowing that he's doing the work of God. He's able to trust in God that He's going to protect him. It's an incredible thing when you do these kind of works and know that the God of heaven and earth is with you. The last thing we see in this chapter, and I love this, in Nehemiah chapter 6, is the walls are completed. Now keep in mind, they've been there 90 years, they've not completed the walls. And here in 52 days, they complete the walls. Let's look at this together in verse 15. So the wall was finished on the 25th day of Elah in 52 days. And it happened when all our enemies heard of it, and all the nations around us saw these things, that they were very disheartened in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was done by our God. Also in those days the nobles of Judah sent many letters to Tobiah, and the letters of Tobiah came to them, For many in Judah were pledged to him because he was a son-in-law of Shechaniah, the son of Eri, and his son Jehohanan had married the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Berechiah. Also they reported his good deeds before me and reported my words to him. Tobiah sent letters to frighten me. Now, when you see this happen and this wall was completed, it's a great victory. 52 days and the wall is done. The wall that the enemy said couldn't be done is done in less than 2 months. And the praise, look at this, all goes to God. As a matter of fact, the fear now is in the enemies because they realize God is with Nehemiah and with the Israelite people. And the thing they fear most is that God's people would once again begin following their God, the one true God. I want to tell you, when you do a great work for God, the way you'll know it truly is for God is that He's the one who gets the credit and the praise for the work that is done. I want to tell you, it's wonderful to serve Him, but let us be careful to make sure that we're always pointing skyward, always pointing to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Thank you for watching today. You have a great week.
Join us at Oak Grove Baptist Church on July 5th and again on July 12th for our annual patriotic musical. The Oak Grove Choir will present special music intended to celebrate our country's 250th birthday and honor members of each branch of our military. Anyone who has served is invited to wear their military uniform and be recognized for their service. Everyone is welcome, and we invite all in the congregation to wear red, white, and blue, or any combination thereof, to show our patriotism as we celebrate America. Bring your family, your friends, your neighbors, and invite everyone you know in the community to attend these special services. That's Sunday, July 5th at 11 a.m. and Sunday, July 12th at 6 p.m. in conjunction with Fun Fest at Oak Grove Baptist Church, 311 Cypress Street, Mount Carmel, Tennessee. We'll see you there.